Hey there, this is Heather Zeitzwolf, and you are listening to Get Radical with Your Business. If you are a content creator, I am here to help you with all things business, especially on the financial side of business. I am here to help you make sense of all those numbers. What you track and look at, you can impact. If you are somebody who is interested in podcasting or podcast curious, you are really going to enjoy this show today. No matter if you are just starting off or really, really experienced in podcasting, you are going to find a lot of awesome gems in this podcast episode. All right, here is my wonderful friend, Adam Schaeuble, who is the man behind the Podcast Business School. Adam Schaeuble, you've hooked me up with so many podcasters. I'm thankful to the ends of the earth and back. A big shout out to you.
Well, I love connecting people. When I first started podcasting, I didn't know any other podcasters. So I'm kind of on this mission. If I know somebody that you probably need to know, I'm going to go ahead and make that intro, and I love to do it.
Podcasters are the best people. I've met so many wonderful people in the podcasting space. It's such a great community of people that are collaborative, they've got your back, supportive, and it's not vindictive or any of that kind of stuff, which is really awesome.
Yeah. And we kind of get each other. Like, we're all really hyper creative people and also understand that we want to feel like we're being heard. And that's one of our big driving forces. And it's crazy. You go to a podcast conference, you don't have shallow conversations. Whether you're surrounded by podcasters, you're going like, we're peeling back the layers of the onion in every conversation that you have, because we're all professional conversationalists.
On your show, you talk about making your podcast from a hobby to a business. And so we're going to concentrate on that part of it today, the business part of it, because we want people to make some money.
That's right. Money sound effect. Cha-ching.
Cha-ching,
Yes.
cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yes, indeed. That's the big part of who I am and what I like to do.
Podcasting, it can be a fun hobby, and it is a lot of work. It is like having another job. I feel like there's two lanes for people with podcasting. There's the ones that are already an entrepreneur, and they're starting a podcast to either promote their business or have another revenue stream or something. And then there's the people that start a podcast. They think that they're going to make money from it, and maybe they do eventually, but that's a tougher road.
Yeah, because I've experienced both. I launched my first show back in 2015. It was a health and weight loss based show. It was called the Million Pound Mission. I had a bunch of followers in the UK who thought it was a money show because it's called the Million Pound Mission. So all these, this guy's not talking about money, unsubscribe. For the American audience, it worked well, but I owned a gym. That would be a situation where I was looking to expand my brick and mortar brand into the online space and offer online coaching and courses and programs and boot camps and all that stuff. And it worked really well. And that was the primary goal there, was take what I've got, add some online momentum to it, grow the brand overall via nurturing and creating community via podcasting. And the podcast served my brick and mortar clients as well. So it's a win-win. So that's definitely a possibility. Now, with my brand now, Podcasting Business School, I created something where there was nothing for me. I had no existing following, no existing email list, no existing offers, no social media, no nothing, made $0. The way I evolved from a health podcaster into Podcasting Business School is specifically, it took me 3 years to make $37 as a podcaster. So I was averaging a little over $10 a year income from my podcast, mainly from like mushroom coffee tea from Four Sigmatic affiliate fees. I was like, man, I made 50 cents this month. Sweet, online entrepreneur.
You always say the mushroom tea, but you actually did try that. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Four Sigmatic. That's great products. And that was my very first 50 cents I made as a podcaster, was Four Sigmatic affiliate fees. It took me a while to figure it out, but then I did figure it out. And I was like, oh, I can do these like online challenges. And I would do a 5-day free challenge that would lead into a 28-day paid challenge. And so I'd get them all fired up with the freebie, and a certain percentage would convert over into the paid challenge. And the first one I did, I made $3,000. I was like, whoa, that was awesome. I just did 5 days of work for $3,000. I've never done that before with all these people that I don't know, that I can't physically reach out and touch. So then I kind of reverse engineered that, and I started doing these $97 challenges. The first time I did that, I sold 140 of them. So I made about $14,000 the second challenge I did, I was like, okay, now I'm starting to figure this out. Then my other health entrepreneur friends started going, okay, I see what you're doing. You're making good money. How can you show me how to do this also? So then I was like, all right, I became a consultant for health podcasters on how to monetize through challenges and memberships and things like that. Because everybody wants to do sponsors. I'm like, man, sponsors are a big old pain. I'm a service provider. I'd much rather sell my own programs, products, and services. So I was showing them how to do that. Then that led to me discovering that I'm really good at this and I love it. And I talk about on the show all the time, ELF, easy, lucrative, fun. You want to have an ELF business. My gym had become a half business, HALF, hard, annoying, lame, frustrating. I was like 2019. At the end of 2019, I just smelled the pandemic coming. And no, I'm just kidding. I sold my gym at the end of 2019, which is just tremendously good luck. Right before everything went down, I was due for some good luck. I admit it. The mojo was upon me. And I went full time, and I really just was like, I'm doing this podcasting business school thing. And a couple of years later, I ended up selling my health podcast, which is a cool little business adventure to be able to do that. With podcasting business school, I had to figure out, based off of my initial consultations and things I was doing with health podcasters, like, how do I make this more robust? So I tried a few different membership models that didn't really work. I'm the king of terrible ideas, but I'll just try it anyway. So my very first membership for podcasters, I called the cult for podcasters. I'm like, it's not a membership, it's a cult. And I thought it was funny. I was like, everybody's going to join because we're weird. I was going to have like custom robes made and everything. And no, nobody joined. That was a terrible idea. But you can hear some of my old episodes where I talk about join the cult for podcasters. Like I left all that on there because I want all my people to hear all the dumb stuff I tried that didn't work so that they have hope and go, oh, this guy screwed it up a whole bunch of times too before he figured it out. Fast forward a couple more years, I had a lot of experience where I was like, all right, I think I can create courses. I think I can create coaching programs. I know what I can really focus in on. So my first successful membership was Download Growth Club. That really took off. We do really well with that. And then I do a lot of just hybrid coaching and consulting where I have courses and things like that. It took me 3 years to figure out how to make money as a podcaster with Lane one that you talked about, expanding my current brand and business. And then a couple more years to figure out how to create something where there was nothing and explode a brand new brand with offers and things like that. So I think the moral of the beginning of this story is it's going to take some time and you got to have the chops to stick with it.
In the beginning, it was easier having this other business that the podcast was actually like a marketing tool. And for the people that are out there that are like, okay, I'm starting a podcast, I don't have this other business. Maybe they have some experience, they have passion around what they talk about. The easiest route may be like coaching, consulting, having courses, that sort of thing. You work with people who want to take their podcast and turn it into a business. Where do you feel that what's the easiest route to do that?
I like the $1,000 number because that's like actual money. That's more than a tank of gas right now, which hopefully never gets past that. Let's say we make it the first way to make $1,000 as a podcast. We want coaching, consulting offers. I challenge my clients to create something that's going to be in that $1,000 to $1,500 range as an offer. And a lot of them freak out. They're like, oh my God, that's a lot of money. I was charging $3 an hour before, or what? Like people don't charge enough. It's crazy. But I've got my friend Ashley she's got a budget-based show and she's like, I can't charge that much. I was like, we're not asking for a 1-hour consultation. This could be a 6-month program. This could be a year-long program. We have all these variables. It could be a course plus coaching. It could be all these things. But I like the idea to be in that $1,000 to $1,500 price point because now we're not nickel and dime and chasing. I got to pay my bills and replace my income. I have to get 500 people to buy this thing, this $5 thing. It's like, no, let's just have a really high impact offer. So I like ending up in that $1,000 to $1,500 zone. Then we reverse engineer that and go, what do I have experience in that I may be 4 or 5 steps ahead on the path that my listeners are on? And I can kind of be the people's champion. I can be on this hero's journey. And how can I mentor them? How can I consult? How can I coach and show them how to get to where I am, those 5 steps further, faster? How can I teach them to get 5 steps to where I am in 1 step or 2 steps and not make all the mistakes? That's one of the huge advantages that I have in podcasting is I've screwed it up every possible way that you can. The evidence is in my backlog. You can go listen to my first episodes. The audio is terrible. The offers are terrible. Nobody's buying anything. But I just kept going. I'm like 800 episodes deep at this point. The
Wow.
first 500 are a lot of practice and screw ups, but the last 300, I'm like, all right, we got this puppy dialed in, and now I can mentor other people and show them how to not screw it up like I did. Basically, that's my tagline: don't screw it up. I already did that.
What about the people out there that have like imposter syndrome, or maybe
Yep.
they have this mindset of I'm not worth it, or no one's going to pay me that kind of money right out of the gate? When you were first starting out, you went through and made a lot of mistakes. Were you offering things at a lower price? And then how did you find that sweet spot of
Yeah.
1,000, 1,500?
Here's the test that we could do. If the $1,000, $1,500 package offer makes your stomach turn, start at $200. Create a thing that you're going to charge $200 for. So maybe that's 3 30-minute sessions, coaching sessions with you, or consulting or whatever. Here's a little package that I like that I'll put out there. A lot of consultations are 1 hour session. And I used to do these, and I kept on getting emails from people the following week and the week after that, where they're asking questions after they actually tried to implement what I dished out in the 60 minutes. So now I do 60 minutes of consulting, but I break it up into 45 minutes and 15 minutes. So we do a 45-minute session, and then 1 to 2 weeks later, we book the 15-minute follow-up so that they have some, I'm trying to do this time in between. I use an app called Voxer where they get unlimited access to me. They can Vox me as many times as they want in that 2-week period. That way it's built in. I can charge $700 for this because I'm helping people rebrand. I'm helping people how to make money. I'm teaching people how to grow their downloads or whatever I'm consulting on. What could you do and split up like that, where you're adding that value, like something like Vox, where they can ask you questions on the fly? But anyway, we can start at a $200 price point, and I want you to sell that. And if you get a yes, every time you get an immediate yes, go up by $50. The next time you offer it, all right, it's $250. Get an immediate yes. Okay, next time it's $300. And you'll just keep getting yeses until you start getting no's. Then we go, okay, now we're in the market zone of what they're willing to pay for what it is that you offer. And then as we get better, and maybe you create an online course, now that's a part of the offer. And now the offer just went up to $500 because now it's a course and coaching and a nice little hybrid model. Maybe instead of doing one-on-ones, you can offer some monthly group coaching as well. Boom. Now our value went up again and we can charge more. That's where I would start off with. I would ladder it up. That way you can build your own confidence as you test things out, and also marketing it as a beta group or a test group, because that's truly what it is. Let's say you have a social media following or an email list or a little bit of something that you could work with there. You can go, hey, I am starting this consulting program. It's going to be based off of XYZ result. I need 4 people that will help me test this. I'm going to charge $1,000 for this eventually, but right now it's going to be $200. And then you can make your first $1,000 by just having a 5-person test group. Something like all those things are valid things that I have tried and have absolutely worked. And the key is focus on building relationships. If you're not a super salesy person and you feel weird about it, just build relationships, keep adding value. If you keep hitting your audience over the head with value, when they are ready to buy, you're the top of mind person. And that's kind of the strategy I tend to take.
I think a lot of people think if I give out all my best stuff online on my podcast, no one's going to pay me money. But really the difference is they want to be able to interact with you and ask questions. And it's one thing to hear advice, but it's another to actually have guidance and support from a coach or a consultant face to face. What should people talk about on their podcast? And if they are trying to build this business, this consulting business, should they be talking about all the things that are in their offer? Should they be building up to the offer? From all the things that you've done, what do you think is the best route?
There are different routes. I don't know if there's a best route, but there'll probably be a best fit for each person out there. But one kind of very specific example that I can pull out of my own little cache of podcasts that I've got here, I had a limited series show called Podcast Launch Tips. And notice the branding. You know exactly what it is when you hear it. Like, that's important as well. But I didn't plan on doing this forever and ever. Like with podcasting business school, I'm like, this is a long haul deal. I'm going to keep doing it. The podcast launch tips, I'm like, I'm going to do 75 to 100 episodes. I'm going to give everybody everything I know about launching a show. I ended up at 70, and it's kind of like Forrest Gump when he's like, I'm done running. And I was like, I'm done running. 70 is good. I've got course and services and all that stuff. My launch services range from $800 to $4,000. I recorded 70 episodes of my course. I basically took out every video, every module, every step that I teach in my course that people are paying for. I did an episode on it. And
Oh.
so people might be like, well, you just gave away the farm. But here's the thing. I will give you everything I know for free. You will pay me to help you implement it correctly. And
Mm-hmm.
because nobody has what's in my crazy space up my head, extra little herbs and spices, that special recipe. And when I sprinkle that on top of what's in the course, that's when something special happens. That's when I help you skip steps and level up and shorten your learning curve. I put that podcast out. I haven't recorded any episodes of that for several months. And it's like a funnel. People find it because it's got really good search engine optimization. They start binge listening. The call to action is to go check out my course, check out my online offers. And I'm selling those $800 to $4,000 offers on the regular from a show that I haven't put anything out. I don't market it at all. Like I've got an email funnel that deals with it on a little freebie. That's potentially a route that you could take as far as content creation. If you are a service provider and you're like, I want to do more of a long-term thing, one warning I would put out there is if you want to sell your own programs, products, and services, like what I do, like what Heather does, I would highly recommend avoiding an interview only show. Because if you only interview people, then they're the expert and you're the person that interviews experts. And then you try to sell your thing, they're like, why would I buy this thing? You're not the expert, that other person. I don't want to buy that other person's thing. So solo episodes and what I would consider to be coaching or consulting style episodes. When people pay me money, I go 2/3 of your content. I need you to be positioned as the expert because that's really important when it comes to, and now I've got a course. Now I've got a free challenge. Now I need you to do this. That's going to get you on my email list. And if you don't position yourself in that way, it's going to be a real slog. Like it's going to be, because that's what I did for the first 3 years when I made $37. So if you'd like to make $10 a year as a podcaster, follow that route. Or option B, then we go down this other road. But it's really important to understand there's so much more out there in content creation other than just interviews. And I'm not saying don't do interviews at all. Interviews are a great part of it because you can pull somebody in that adds that extra flavor to your brand through their knowledge. You have complementary services and there's some synergy there. That's awesome. But just don't get locked into I only do interviews because that's not going to help you get to where you want to be from a business perspective. Does that make sense?
Yes, I agree. And when I first started my podcast, I was only doing interviews. And some of the feedback I got was, when are you going to do a solo show? I want to hear you. And then I started doing more intros because that was my putting my foot in the water kind of thing.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, I'll
yeah.
just do a longer intro. And then I was like, okay, I got up the nerve and I started doing some solo shows. Those are the ones that people always comment more to me. We think, okay, we're going to have this guest and they're going to share it to the world and we're going to get all these followers from a big guest. Usually is like the ones that are like, wah, 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 because they've shared out their stuff a million times. People don't care. That's not a way to drive followers. Okay, I want to talk to you about one of your important things that you do is Pod Pals, and this allows people to give time, you call it eyeball to eyeball, with your followers or listeners because they're out there. We don't see them. It's like we're not communicating with them unless we get them to DM us on Instagram, which is a lot of times like pulling teeth. But coming to this thing where you give value and then they get to spend time with you, that's brilliant. Could you talk about how people can implement this strategy in their podcast and bring their business skills into it so that they're building their business?
One of the things I figured out is that you have to initiate engagement. We're all sitting on our butts waiting for the engagement to happen to us. I put out this great show. And I hear this so often and it's hilarious. And I can't help but laugh every time. I know these people are frustrated and pissed, but they're like, Adam, like we're in this like heartfelt consultation and they're starting to get emotional. They're like, I put so much work into this. And I even ask people to email me on the show their questions and they never email me their questions. Very rarely will a podcast listener be like, and now I will hop on the old email and zip Heather a question because they're doing other stuff. That's the gift and the curse of podcasting is they're mowing their lawn or they're taking their kid to school and they forget they're working out and they're not gonna be like, oh yeah, mental note, got to go email Heather my question about her show or whatever. It's really hard to do. You have to initiate engagement. That's like mental note number one. The second mental note is we have to ask ourselves if we're truly community builders, when are we giving our community a chance to be a community? Because me talking to them through a microphone where they can't respond is not really community building. That's why I did the Pod Pals thing. I had a tough go at the beginning because I didn't know any other podcasters. So I was like, if I can be a hub of connection where I can help other people meet other podcasters, And we see so many cool connections and people starting shows together, doing interviews, starting businesses together, all this stuff. I was like, I want to be that hub. I want to help facilitate all that. And I'm going to do it for free and just make a bunch of friends. I was like, my pod pals. That's why I called it the pod pals Zoom party. Even from the get go on this, it wasn't like I announced it on the show. And now I'm doing this thing. I want you to be a part of the show. And it's going to be this awesome panel discussion. Cricket. I had to go out and chase down people, my true pod pals that I was already connected with. I'm like, listen, I'm doing this thing. I need you to show your butt up. I need you to be there because I have to prove to my audience. We're going to put it out as an episode. It'll be a great promo for you. Everybody in my audience hears it. You shout out your brand, the whole thing. So I got 5 or 10 of my people that I actually know that aren't listeners of my show. I'm like, just come on, let's do this thing. And they loved it. I put it out as an episode. And the call to action was, here's the link to sign up for the next one. And the next one I had about half the people that I had to strong arm in. And the other half were people that actually listened and clicked the link. And then I released that one. And then it started to just pick up to where now they fill up to the point I have to send threatening emails on the Thursday before. I'm like, listen, it's full. If you're not coming, you got to move your butt so I can get somebody else in there. So it's like totally switched. The dynamic is switched where now it's an in-demand thing and it's hard to get a little seat.
Now you release it as a podcast episode, and our buddy Janet Fish, she's been doing the same thing.
Yep.
I have a monthly meetup and I don't release it as a podcast, but now you've got me thinking that maybe I should be releasing it as a podcast to drive people to come to this.
Yep.
Do you think that you get better success in doing that then?
Yeah. Yes. Especially in a space like ours where like podcasters, one of their favorite things to do is be on other people's podcasts. OPP, you know me. That's how the song goes. I'm like, you can come on my show, and guess what? You can shout out your show and help me create content. And we do a little thing called podcaster speed dating, where that's that little carrot I dangle out there. And that's why people want to attend all the time because they're getting booked on other people's shows. I know you've gotten booked on several shows from coming to Pod Pals. You found some guests. Good things are happening out there. And I really try to facilitate that as much as possible. Heck yeah. Especially this year, I've really put in a ton of effort just brainstorming. How do I get more of my listeners to be a part of my brand? How do I pull them in? How do we create content? How can I release more episodes with more of my listeners' actual voices? So I'm doing Pod Pals. I do my podcast audits where people come on every Friday. I audit their show. I started doing this speak pipe thing where I put a link in the show notes. I go, tell me what your favorite episode is, and I'll put it at the end of the show. Because I started getting real creative with this, Heather. You're going to enjoy this, where I'm like, what are the 2 most skippable parts of a podcast? The intro and the outro. Everybody's heard that, skip. And then the main thing's down. They're like, heard at the end, skip. Who cares? Just cut it off. I'm not going to listen. Now, in a few episodes that are coming up, I bring the plan in for a landing. I go, and here's a pod pal just like you with an episode recommendation. So they get to shout out their show on my show. That's the incentive to come on and shout their brand out. It's not me pimping out my own show. It's somebody that listens to my show, social proof, expert positioning. And now they'll probably go and listen to that episode because a listener recommended it. And I'm very confident if I can get somebody to listen to 4, 5, 6 of my episodes, I've got them. They're going to start binging. And people that binge become super fans, become clients. And that's how I do my business. Just thinking about, and even if you're not a podcaster, how can you create and collaborate and make your audience and make your ideal customers a part of your brand? Is that an Instagram Live where you do face-to-face Q&A? You're pulling them up on the screen with you? Is it Pod Pals sort of thing like I'm doing? I would challenge all the entrepreneurs out there, because if you give your listener, your ideal customer, a voice in your brand, now they're a part of it. It's our brand. You know what I'm saying? It's not Adam's brand. We're all a part of this. The Pod Pals are a thing. And like when I got up on stage and spoke at Podfest this past year, when I say the word Pod Pals, they go crazy. They're like, that's me. I'm one of those. It's pretty damn cool. That's my strategy around that.
Yeah, I had people coming up to me at Podcast Movement saying, I met you on Pod Pals. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right.
I love that.
Yeah, that's very cool. Okay, before we wrap up, I do want to ask you about, you mentioned brainstorming, the word planning has come in there, and I'm a real advocate for planning things out. You know, creative entrepreneurs, we like to fly by the seat of our pants, try things. We got shiny object syndrome, but planning is important. And if we want to have a podcast where we actually generate money from it, we have to have a plan. And granted, in the beginning, experimenting is important too, but having some idea where we want to take this thing. So just quickly, how do you do your planning for, are you looking a year out, a couple months out? Like, how do you do your planning for your show?
If you're just getting started, my advice for brand new people when they're mapping out their content is we got to get you to a year. If we can get you to a year of episodes every week, you're probably going to stick with it. If you only think 3 episodes ahead and then I'll figure it out from there, you probably won't. The current stat is there have been 4 million podcasts launched. There are only 155,000 that have more than 10 episodes and have released anything in the last 10 days. That should tell you something. If you're just getting started, I want you to make a brainstorm list with 52 items. Let's say you're going to do interviews and solo episodes, 26 and 26. I want you to write down 26 topics that you can talk about dealing with your niche. Then I want you to write down 26 people that you would like to interview on your show. Maybe some of these are people that you already have connections with. Some of it might be like your dream top 10 list. Now we have a year of content mapped out where you can go every other week, solo interview, putting the puzzle together. That's something you can do. But I did this. I got this tip from Brendan Burchard, who's a major coach in the coaching space. I did this and it saved my first show because it was so hard. I wanted to quit every single month, every single week. But I was like, I just got to do that next rep. I just got to do the next episode. I've already got it lined up. I can talk about that. I could spend 15 minutes doing a solo episode or talking to this person. I'm good to go. So I have all my clients do that are just getting started, 26 and 26. Let's map that out first. And then if you're going to do coaching style episodes, that could take away from a category. Maybe you're like, I don't know so many people. All right. 13 people you can interview, 13 people you could do a consulting style episode with, and then 26 solo. So now the math starts to work. And I know that Heather loves math. So that would be a good newbie beginning space. Now let's go to the other end. Where am I at right now with my content? Now it's based around the next offer that I want to put out there. But the interesting thing is 99% of the time, I don't sell anything from my show. But what I talk about sells into what I'm selling. You know what I'm saying? It creates interest. For example, I've got a campaign to promote my Download Growth Club, which is a membership for podcasters that are getting less than 1,000 downloads per episode. So that's a paid membership. I'm going to do a 3-week audience engagement challenge that leads up to the promo push. The 3 weeks before that, I'm trying to get people to sign up for the challenge. So I go, okay, audience engagement and download growth. So all my content for that 6 weeks, audience engagement and download growth. And I'm driving people. I'm basically fishing with the right lure for the people that would be attracted. If they love these episodes, they're going to love my challenge. If they love my free challenge, they're a great candidate for my membership. I reverse engineer it from what I would like to put out there as an offer. And I've got to shout out my friend Jan Ditchfield. She helped me concoct this whole formula and it's really amazing. That's how I map out my content now. And that I could do that once per quarter and be like, what's my main thing I want to sell this quarter? Or the main thing I want to put out there from an offer perspective, reverse engineer the content to attract the right person, get them interested and really engage. Because sometimes podcast listeners, they skip around. They'll go away for a couple of weeks. That topic isn't necessarily my jam. And maybe it's a couple of weeks of that, but now we start pulling them back in week after week. That gets the momentum going in the right direction. Maybe they pop in for a Pod Pal Zoom party. I get some FaceTime with them. Maybe they start following me a little closer on the IG. That's my content map out strategy. Now, if you're just getting started, don't start there. Start at the other end. And if you're somewhere in between, maybe you look at an offer and just aren't quite like as intense about it as with the topics as I am right now, but you can get there.
It's key to really understand what your offer is and what it entails, because if you are unclear on your offer, then it's going to be unclear what you're going to be talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Adam, where can people find you? You do like IG Lives, you do the Pod Pals. Tell us of where people can find you and hang out with you.
The main hub that you can find everything. I've got a very simple website. I had a very simple website and I simplified the simplest website in the world. So if you just go to podcastingbusiness.school, it's a .school URL. I'm still questioning that decision. Podcastingbusiness.school. The other one wasn't available. They wanted like $5,000 for it. I'm like, nope, I'm a cheapo. So podcastingbusiness.school. There is 1 video and 3 buttons. The buttons will guide you. I have a button for free things. I have a button that helps me feed my family. And I have a button for my podcast. And then you can hang out with me on Instagram at Podcasting Business School. And I'm live all the time. I love doing the DM thing. Doing the DM thing is my jam as well. Those are the 2 main places. Check out my show wherever you listen to audio. And yeah, if you enjoyed this episode, go leave it a 5-star review and be like, that guy with that big old voice, that was my favorite episode.
And you have an adorable daughter that has been helping you with social media, and it's been so fun to see those posts. Please follow Adam. He's hilarious. Well, thank you so much, Adam. Wishing you, tell me your
health, happiness, and many downloads.